What's on your mind? Don't ever stop. Don't ever stop. What do you think?
Oh, that's right. What do you think? Did you like that little Tyrone Davis, Turning Point, Turning Point? I don't know if that's a song they use, but I thought, everybody's talking about Turning Point, Turning Point, Turning Point. And I was sitting there and going, there's a song about Turning Point. And it reminded me of our time working with Dr. Mac Arnold. That was one of the songs that he played when we were in the schools, and he liked that because life was at a turning point for a lot of these young people. And I concur, and we used to have a little symbol when it said turning point. If you're watching, you can see this, and you put your hands up in the air and do a little circle like a turning point. So it's a fun song, and it does kind of indicate what life is about, turning points in life, and how certain things can cause changes that bring us better in line with where we want to be, where we should be. Now, I've been talking here for 2 minutes, and yes, I have the mic on, check. We are on the radio, check, and we're on Facebook Live at WCRS 98.5 FM, 1450 AM. So let's oh my goodness, let's get started and talk about some of the things I want to talk about. Well, before we came on the air with our Facebook Live, I had indicated there was something that Trump had said that was going to be unveiled. I'm going to tell you the truth. I thought it was a little inappropriate. I know a lot of you are going to go, whatever Trump said is fine. I did think it was a little inappropriate to say, well, I've got a big announcement that we're going to make tomorrow. I mean, come on. But that's just Trump. I made that comment, and several people told me, and that's just Trump. That's just Trump. I know it's just Trump, but still. Anyways, I just saw on the news, I think it's 4 o'clock this afternoon, Trump is coming on the airwaves, and they will be discussing have they had this breakthrough in the autism, and that Tylenol could be the culprit of why we have so many children with autism today, based over what it was, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 years ago. So that's supposed to be the new, and it's been leaked. Of course it's been leaked, right, Ann? So we know that it is about that. We'll see what actually is said this afternoon. But that would be, I think, so horrible to have a situation where something as simple as Tylenol could have been the cause of this. So, but we'll find out more this afternoon. That is something that they are saying. So we'll see what actually comes out at 4 o'clock. If it's not totally broken online or on air, whatever, before then. But that is his big news. But he did indicate that there was going to be a big announcement today, while he has 63,000 plus the overflow plus 2 million people listening. I think, personally, I don't think, because one might like to do that. Personally, I thought, that wasn't very, very, very good to do. All right, moving on to some other topics here to talk about. I'm going to, there was another shooting up there in New Hampshire. I just saw a picture of the guy. I think, did he is he alive or does he kill? I don't know. I just don't know. But the picture is frightening from the look-alikeness of it between the shooter, Charlie Kirk shooter, and the shooter up there in New Hampshire that was at a country club and killed that. I don't even know how many were killed. I haven't really read the article about it, but I do know that that did happen. And when one sees the picture of what the guy in Utah and the guy that was the shooter up there in New Hampshire, you just kind of wonder if there's not some groupthink that is even making them look a lot alike. They looked a lot alike. So, but let's move on and talk about some of the other topics out there. I did want to at least cover, here we go. I did want to at least cover, well, this is an interesting one. Let's talk about this one first. This is about McCormick and their bee buzzing activities with the honey and everything. Donation brings more buzz to the school's beekeeping program. So they have just been tearing it up. I mean, tearing it up in a good way down there in McCormick at the governor's school down there, and they just have gotten this is of course the South Carolina Governor's School of Agriculture. A donation from Duke Energy Foundation played a pivotal role in the development of the 91 student agricultural schools bee program, turning into new equipment, storage, and a new certified honey house. Now, I like this. Honey, you want to go to the honey house? And I'm just teasing. All right, where honey is extracted and stored. They've got a new honey house. Some of the honey will be sold on the campus. Some is being set aside for students to use in competitions, according to the school spokesman, Stephen Teeters. The donation tripled the school's hive count from 6 to 18, with 2 hives yet to be built. You know, I just marvel where, do you remember years ago all the things that were happening down there in McCormick with the John De La House School, how they were trying to find a beautiful piece of property, how this piece of property was just going down, all the money that had been given to John De La Howe to keep it going. Of course, the school, the history of it, the school had been given to the state with the idea that it must stay in existence, I think, and they were trying to keep it going. It was more like a foster home, I think, for children, but it just wasn't working, and they had problems at the top with leadership and how the money was being spent. That's pretty bad when you have to sneeze. Anyways, and all the problems that they had down there, well, they certainly have turned it around. It has become a shining beacon as Governor's Agricultural School down there. They have won all kinds of awards with their honey from McCormick, from John De La Howe School. Of course, I guess it's called the Governor's School of Agriculture now. But a ribbon cutting for the honey house on August 4th marked the start of a second year of the beekeeping program at the school. This is just 2 years old, located at John De La Howe. Savannah Smith said she learned how to manage and identify honeybees, pests, and diseases. She also teaches other students about beekeeping safety through her own club on campus. But Duke Energy has made a significant donation. The South Carolina agribusiness generated nearly $52 million in revenues, a figure expected only to increase with time. And agribusiness is a top industry in South Carolina going back to the state's beginning. And this school is educating the next generation of those business leaders. This is just so cool. You know, to see something that was failing, that was... it had been a money pit for money going in and things not happening to the school, to see it turned around and surviving and thriving, I think it is just amazing. So this beekeeping is become a big part of it because bees are often overlooked in their role in the larger ecosystem. Nearly 35% of the world's food crops depend on pollinators like bees to reproduce, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Bees make the world go round, not just honeybees, but all bees. So that is something that I thought was interesting to talk about. And so the donation from Duke Energy certainly has made a significant contribution to what is happening down there, and will continue to support what is happening. So Duke Energy Foundation is the one that made the donation, and it is good to see. It is good to see. So I wanted to mention that first up before I got on to something else here, but that's a local story that I think deserves recognition. We're also going to be talking to one of the beekeeper teachers. We may even do a trip down there to McCormick and bring you more details on that. So that's going to be pretty cool. But now, I don't know whether this story is true or not. Does anybody know anything about it? This is, and in fact, I probably shouldn't even bring it up, but I am going to bring it up because this is from Reuters. Trump aide Holman accepted a $50,000 in bribery sting, operation sources say. And I really hadn't heard much about it anywhere, but President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, accepted a $50,000 bag of cash from an undercover FBI agent last year. So that was before, I guess, he was back in the position that he is in as an ICE enforcer. In a since-closed U.S. Justice Department bribery investigation, two sources familiar with the matter said on Sunday. In the alleged scheme, Holman promised immigration-related government contracts when he joined the Trump administration in exchange for the money. So FBI Director Kash Patel ordered the investigation closed over the summer, one of the sources said. Holman could not be reached for comment. The matter originated under a previous administration and was subject to a full review by FBI agents and Justice Department prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any criminal wrongdoings, Patel and Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche said in a statement on Sunday. The department's resources must remain focused on real threats to the American people, not baseless investigations. As a result, the investigation has been closed. The only thing I take, we spend a lot of time talking about baseless or are they baseless things in the past. I don't know. So I just thought I would bring this up. I have no idea whether it is true or not true. According to the FBI, this investigation has been closed. I sometimes would, part of me says I can't believe that Holman would do that. But I don't know. But I wanted to bring it to your attention because if something more comes out about this, at least you can say, well, we heard about it right here on WCRS. And if nothing comes about it and it truly is not something, then it will just be a blip, but at least you can say, well, I did hear about it. They did say a grand jury probe into Holman in the Western District of Texas was still in its early stages when Trump returned to the White House in January. They had some gal, Emil Bove, was acting deputy attorney general and is now a federal judge, was briefed on the case in February. And one of the sources said in that exchange she expressed displeasure with the probe and said it was an example of deep state operation, referring to the idea that unelected officials secretly control the government. The statement from Patel and Blanche said the probe was a blatantly political investigation and yet another example of how the Biden Department of Justice was using its resources to target President Trump allies. So Holman was an official at U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement under President Barack Obama and its acting director during Trump's first term. So that is it or is it not? That is a question. I just found that most interesting at this time to come out. So I thought I would mention it. True or untrue, I have no idea. I do find it interesting that it has not gotten much play out there. I was just reading through and said, maybe we should at least talk about this one. So we just did. All right, so we've talked about beekeeping. We've talked about Holman. What else do we have to talk about? Anybody want to weigh in on it? 864-229-7984. 864-229-7984. A story that I guess is dead to the world, but is still out there. And I'm sure that Holman would not want to be questioned about it, but it is something true or not true. I mean, we've seen how the Biden administration did attack Trump and all of Trump's, as many Trump supporters. So it's interesting, though, at this point, that this story just came up. Don't you think? Don't you think? I think so. All right. What else do we have? Oh, I wanted to talk about this. This is moving on to some other topics. Number one, this week the United Nations will be meeting in New York City, and of course this becomes a security nightmare. I can tell you this. It was several years ago, I was in New York City when they were having the opening ceremonies for the United Nations. And we actually were staying right there on the river, right very close to where the United Nations was. And I think part of the reason we were staying there is we had a problem finding a room because, of course, there's all these people coming into New York City from all over. Well, when you looked out the window and looked at the harbor, you would see all these patrol boats with guns mounted on them. And this was back in the day when you went, oh my God, this is wild. Today you just go, yeah, guns everywhere. Everybody is being in a position where they want to be ready should something happen. But it was very eerie to see the boat sitting right there on the river, right in front of the United Nations, and then our hotel was right down the street from that, so you could see all this. And if you went out to walk in that area, you saw lots of limos and lots of security and everything right there around the United Nations building. You know, I don't know if you ever went to the United Nations as a child, but growing up, going to the United Nations was a huge deal. And taking a tour of it, I went with my parents and my sister and my brother, and we went and toured the United Nations. And I can remember being in awe, you know, of what this building stood for and everything. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? 50 years or so plus that now the United Nations is meeting, and while it still is an important organization, it still is important. The way it is run, the things that happen there, we just look at totally differently, don't we? But I can remember, and it was so cool to see them sitting there with different languages, and you could actually get in there and see what was going on. In today's world, I don't even know if they do those tours like that when the United Nations is in session. I'd say probably not. You probably have to have some huge security clearance and go through all this to get in there. But there was a time where it was so different. And I don't understand why we are where we're at today. Part of me says too many people. And I know you're going to say, oh, Ann, that's stupid. No, but we have so many people. We have immigrants, we have residents. I mean, we just have so many people. And to me, it just seems like, is part of it the fact that we have so many people and so many voices, and America used to be a more homogenous country. When immigrants came to this country, they came with the idea of becoming Americans, whereas now they come to America to maintain their own identity and not to fit in, so we have more pockets of different. And I have always thought that the cultures that different countries, different people bring to our country were so fun and so neat. It's kind of like Chinese New Year or all the different holidays that different people, and we got to celebrate and to learn about those, and I thought that was cool. But it's different today. The difference is they don't expect to learn our country or what our country's traditions. They want to have their own thing. And I would be curious what you think about that. 864-229-7984. And if you'd like to weigh in and just be able to make a telephone call and speak your piece, I can have it converted to a text message and a GIF so that you can be part of the conversation. Our new line, 864-332-9355. That's 864-332-9355. Don't you think that people should be if they're going to be Americans, that they're part of America, that they assimilate and become part of America? And of course you keep your traditions alive and you share those with people in your community, or like the Latin festival that we're having this Saturday. That is such a cool way to bring the cultures of another country forward so that we can understand them better, but we also get to see the fun and excitement of what their culture brings. So from a lot of standpoints, is it because we have too many people? I don't know. Could be. That's just according to Ann. All right, moving on here this morning. That's just a little, they say they're going to, what is it? Canada, France, England, I'm not sure who else, but they are going to recognize Palestine and their right to exist. This is causing more people, more countries to come on board with this through the United Nations. And of course, this is upsetting. This is upsetting the United States and Israel, as they think they do not have a right to exist because of the continual destruction of Israel and the desire to wipe Israel off the face of the earth. I think the problem is the Palestinian people did not make a good choice for leaders. That is the big problem. If they had not chosen Hamas to be their leaders, then maybe they wouldn't be in this pickle that they're in today. But that is where this all started. It was Palestine. The Palestinians chose the wrong leaders and let them stay in power and suffered immensely, but they did nothing to get themselves out of it. All right, what else? We've got more to talk about. It is what? 10 o'clock, all in. It's 10 o'clock in the city of Greenwood, South Carolina. All right. What else have I got here this morning? I wanted to talk about this. I found fascinating. You know, all the time here in South Carolina, We're being barraged by the fact that marijuana needs to be a marijuana dispensaries and medical marijuana, which leads to recreational marijuana, and our state keeps holding back on letting that come to the state. But here's a story that I think you might find interesting. Now, this is from the Marijuana Herald. I just want to go on record, this is where this is from. And this is under Marijuana Herald, Marijuana News and Information. Massachusetts Secretary of State approves initiatives to repel cannabis legalization. 2 proposed ballot measures that would dismantle Massachusetts' legal marijuana market have been approved for signature gathering by the Secretary of the Commonwealth for Massachusetts, William Gavin's office. Isn't this unbelievable? The initiatives would repeal key provisions of the state's 2016 voter-approved legalization law. Both measures would shut down retail marijuana sales and eliminate home cultivation while keeping the state's medical marijuana program intact. Adults 21 and older could still possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana or 5 grams of concentrates, and sharing without compensation would remain legal. Possession of up to 2 ounces would be treated as a civil violation, carrying a $100 fine. I don't think I've heard of any other state changing course with all the money coming into the coffers. I don't think I've heard of this. But anywho, one version of the proposed goes further by setting new potency restrictions for medical marijuana. It would bar flower products exceeding 30% THC concentrates above 60% THC, or more than 5 milligrams THC per meter dose. It also mandates serving size labeling and limits concentrate packaging to 20 doses. Supporters can now begin collecting 74,574 valid signatures required by December 3rd of this year to advance the proposals. If those signatures are verified, the Massachusetts legislature will have until May 6 to act. Should lawmakers decline to pass the measures, organizers would need to collect an additional 12,429 signatures by July 1st, 2026, to place the proposed laws on the November 26 ballot. I just find this phenomenal. I don't know if anybody else does, but I find this phenomenal. They always say, oh, it's terrific, yada, yada, yada. Massachusetts has generated over $8 billion in adult use marijuana sales since retail outlets opened in 2018. The proposed initiatives would undo the system entirely while leaving patients access to medical marijuana in place. Proponents of repealing legalization face an uphill battle. Polling from last year found that 79% of the voters believe the state's legalization law had a positive impact. Yeah, we're all feeling good now, with 65% saying it was the right decision, compared with just 22% who said it was the wrong choice. What do you think about this? 864-229-7984 or our new text and telephone line, 864-332-9355. This is a number you can call and leave a voice message, and it converts it to text. So 864-332-9355. I would love to hear from you on this. We've had a lot of hard-fought battles here in South Carolina. And we are still, holding the line to making medical marijuana legal to be bought in dispensaries, et cetera, et cetera. Part of the reason that is so is our legislators are adamant Not about the medical marijuana, I don't think, but they're adamant that the next step is what? Legalized recreational marijuana. And I can tell you this, for one, I do not really want to live in a state where the deer can go out and get high. I mean, I'll just say it. In Maine, the moose walk around and they can't tell whether they're walking in the street or walking in the woods. And it's a problem, folks. So I love being able to breathe clean, fresh air. In Maine, it used to be a beautiful state for that. I only know about Maine because I've been there. Well, I didn't go this year, but in the past I have been there. And you walk around most anywhere and all you do is smell either the lovely smell or the stench, depending on how you feel about it, of marijuana. So, but yeah, the moose up there, they're always high. They can't figure out what's causing it. So I don't want to see the deer down here coming up to my back door and saying, hey, I'm one toke over the line. Can I get another toke? Anyways, I thought I would share that. I thought I would share that with you here this morning. Isn't that amazing that Massachusetts, one of the most liberal states, actually one of the most liberal states, particularly on the East Coast, is got people out there motivated. And I would think, truthfully, 74,574 signatures would not be that difficult to get when you look at the size of the number of people that live in Massachusetts. But maybe so, maybe so. But if they do collect it and if those signatures are verified, then the legislature will have until May 6th to act on it or to bring it up or not bring it up. And then if they don't bring it up, they need an additional 12,000 plus signatures by July of 2026 to get it on the ballot. And then becomes the real battle, I guess we could say. And if I was a radio station in Massachusetts, I'd be looking at influx of lots of cash on both sides of it. Yes, it's true. So, anyways, I just thought I'd share that story. What do you think? 864-229-7984 or 864-332-9355. That's our new line. And it is a call or text line, but the beauty of it is it will change any call to any call-in to a text, which means I can get it so much quicker to be able to see what y'all are thinking here this morning. Let me know what you're thinking. All right, so now let's go to another topic that we're being scared the bejeebers out of this, as we always are. Let's see, I just thought, let's see, what did I want to say? Okay, how about the budget? Have we not seen this movie before? Yes, we have. Let's go back and just look at where we're at on the budget. Of course, September 30th. The thing that irks the crap out of me, I'll just be perfectly frank. They knew September 30th was coming for months. When they did whatever they did in March, I think they did what was it? CR, continuing resolution, to get them through. They did the big beautiful bill. Then they were going to tackle this. Well, they got the big beautiful bill back in what? I don't know, April, May, something like that. So now here we are, it's a week. It's a week to the end. And now we're down to, oh my God, clutch your pearls, get excited because the government may shut down. I will say this, Social Security is not affected. Social Security is not affected. So just hang on a minute, and all of those people working in Washington, D.C. usually get their money in back pay. But if no decision is made by the 30th, then they will start going towards a shutdown. So the clock is ticking in Washington, D.C. Congress has until midnight, September 30th, to agree on a budget or, of course, a temporary funding bill. If they don't, parts of the federal government will shut down when the new fiscal year begins October 1st. So here's the deal in a short bullet points. The House passed a Republican-backed continuing resolution to keep the government open through November 21st. Oh yeah, see, they never can do things on time. Aren't you just a little tired of this crap? You know, if you're a business or if you're South Carolina, you have to have a balanced budget. If you're a business, you have to have a budget or you go out of business. I mean, but anyways, I digress. So they would like a short-term continuing resolution. But in the Senate, both GOP version and a Democratic alternative failed to reach the 60 votes needed. The key fights are over health care funding. Democrats want to end the Affordable Care Act, want to extend Health Care Act subsidies and reverse Medicaid cuts, while Republicans are pushing for a clean bill without add-ons. Security funding. After recent threats and attacks that pressures to add money for judges, lawmakers, and federal officials. If no deal is reached, federal workers could be furloughed, programs delayed, and government services disrupted. The stakes are especially high with just days left and Congress working on a limited schedule because of Rosh Hashanah recess. So, as of today, the government is headed towards a shutdown unless leaders find a compromise. And October 1st is when this all comes to a screeching halt if they do not have any budget. Why? Why is this so? We've seen this movie before, folks. They always come to an agreement. I guess the question is now, who is going to blink? Are the Democrats going to relax their pressure on that they want the Medicaid and Medicare and the health care funding, the Affordable Care Act subsidies, that they still want those in there or not? That is the question. Will they blink or will the Republicans blink? Always the same, isn't it? All right, let's move on. I got other things I want to cover here this morning, or who knows? Maybe I should just say enough already, Ann. Enough already. Oh. Our country is just in such a hurt right now. But that's the way it is. So let's go back over here, see if I got anything else. Yes, here we go. I want to go back right here. 36 years later, Hurricane Hugo makes landfall in Charleston County. I was thinking about that. It was 36 years ago. One of the greatest natural disasters to ever strike South Carolina hit the Low Country with Charleston County. I remember this just like it was yesterday. Around midnight on September 22nd, Hurricane Hugo made landfall on Sullivan Island as a Category 4 hurricane with recorded wind gusts of up to 140 miles per hour. Sustained winds of 87 miles per hour with gusts up to 107 were recorded on the Charleston Peninsula. And then last year, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Helene hitting Greenwood, South Carolina. Came in on the evening of the 26th, I believe it was, the morning of the 27th. I know we'll have more discussions about this, but it is amazing that there are people still suffering through the effects of Helene and the cost that it has been. I will say that it is a time that I will never forget. And being fortunately, WCRS did have power because they got the power back on the bypass quickly, and we're one block off the bypass. So we were able to have power, and we were able to broadcast for hours on end about how to get services, where things were, and this type of thing. So I won't forget what part we were part, or the terror of getting up and thinking, wow, what is that noise out there? And it sounded like a freight train was coming through. And because of the way WCRS is, it's very hard to hear. But the noise level was horrific. The making my coffee with my... I had to have coffee that morning. There was no coffee. There was no power. And so I sat there with my little burner trying to make a pot of coffee. Oh, my God. It was something else. But I'm sure we're going to have a lot of memories and a lot of stories to talk about. But that is coming up. If you'd like to share a story with me, I'd love to hear from you. You can text me at our 864-332-9355. You can email me at wcrsinfo@gmail.com. You can also call and leave a message on our new text, and this is a text line and also a voice line where you can leave a message, 864-332-9355. One of the cool things about this for me, as far as being able to get your information on the air quicker, is that it will take a voice message and convert it to a text so I can read it and keep going. So that's 864-332-9355. That's 864-332-9355. That is our new number, and we'll still have the legacy number, 864-229-7984. I know a lot of you are going to have PTSD about hearing or seeing or feeling all the things that happened on when Hurricane Helene hit Greenwood, and the effects that went on and on and on. So I also want to remind you, what was it, the 26th, I think I'm right, that back in 1988 was when the shooting occurred at Oakland Elementary. And that is another thing. When people talk about all these school shootings, I just want to remind you, Greenwood was actually one of the, I think, the first school in the nation. We always talk about Columbine as being the big school shooting. No, it was right here in Greenwood, South Carolina. Things that we forget, but the beautiful thing about history is we can go back and check it out. That, I think, is going to do it for me. I had a lot more, but we can get to it tomorrow. Who knows? We may have updates on the stories that we were talking about today. 864-229-7984. Anybody else like to weigh in on what we got going on Facebook? We've been Facebook Live. This show will be up on Facebook Live in the morning, or actually this evening. So when you miss these shows, you can go back and watch them. You can watch them on Facebook, or you can, WCRS 98.5 FM /1450 AM. Just go to videos on my page, and that will be up there for 30 days. Now, we take that video that night, and we put it up on our website, WCRS1450am.net. A lot of people are liking that because they're not Facebookers. So if you're not a Facebooker, but you still want to be able to watch or see or missed what we said, maybe you got to hear part of it in the car, but you didn't hear the whole show, etc., etc., you can go back and put it in the background, be working on other stuff, and hear my great radio voice telling you all my opinions right here on WCRS Radio. Penny is looking at me going, you said you were getting off the air. Come on, get off the air. Folks, that is going to do it for me right here on WCRS. I'm getting the side eye from Miss Penny. So she says, Ann, give it up. So there you go. We're going to give it up. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in right here on WCRS Radio. That's right, Penny. I'm coming. We need breakfast. Bye-bye, everybody. Take it away. Okay, how about this? Take it away.
Keep on sharing. The phones are open. Keep on laughing. Give us a call. You gotta keep on caring. As long as you've got a voice, don't ever stop. As long as you've got truth, don't ever stop. You're on the air. As long as you've got love. What's on your mind?